Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock on the 4th of October, 2022. It's just, first notice, Louis can't be here tonight. He's not well. So, but we do have, the other four of us here, so we're good for a quorum. And then, let's see, going down through the agenda here. Additions, changes and additions.
I don't have anything.
I guess there's Louis called me and asked me to check. There's an insurance form that we need to sign and get back, I think, to Passive by Friday. So we need to address that before we get out of here tonight. Just make sure that happens. So that's the only new thing that I had.
There was, while we're on that topic, there was a form related to roads from the state that was late and that someone was looking for that. I don't know if anyone responded to, but I was hoping.
I found that.
I found that.
It was emailed June 24th and never sent to anybody else. So that's the one grant that's on there that you gotta sign. But there's another thing that the town clerk needs to do on her left side, and haven't heard that one.
Okay.
So does that address the concern, Tristan?
Sounds well. It sounds like we're not out of the woods on getting it signed, but that's sounds like we're on the right track. I'll track down the specific thing that I was wondering about.
Okay. All right, approval, previous meeting minutes.
I move we approve those September 20th minutes.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in
Yeah,
favor?
just one question. I just noticed it this afternoon or tonight was that it said that the adjournment was motioned by Tristan and seconded by Tristan.
Nope.
And I'm sure he really wanted to get out of there, but I don't think he did them both.
All right, we'll fix
I
that.
I don't know who, but I mean, that's kind of trivial, but
I'll get that fixed.
Okay. Okay, so with that addendum, the change, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
I did find the thing I was thinking of. It's the outstanding Better Roads grant signature page needed.
It's right there, just as mine.
All right, so we got that. Great.
New business.
I'm back.
We have Andrea representing the Historical Society with some paperwork for us, so please have at it, Andrea.
Okay, so I handed out to you, Paul, unfortunately, you don't have it because you're not here. It is an estimate from CB Painting LLC out of Wilmington. And I'm just gonna run through it because Paul can't see it. So he's given us a job description of what I've asked them to do for us. And this is for, again, asking for ARPA money, okay? To spray prime caulk as needed is $11,000. Reglazed windows, prime is needed $6,000, and everything is getting 2 coats of paint. Rot repair on trim siding, all products, labor included, is $600. So the total that they're giving us for an estimate, and this is the only one that I have been able to get, was $17,600. Now, what's working, I don't know what you have left for the ARPA funds, because you have distributed some, have you not?
Yeah, we've only distributed about less than 50,000 of the 200.
Okay,
Okay.
so we did some fundraising this year and we managed to make, get our working, we have 2 checking accounts. We have a working checking account and then we have a checking account for republication of our books when we need them. So we've got about $14,000 this year now in our working checking account. But if I have to have money, I can't drain the checking account down to nothing to pay for this, and then, and anyway, it would make us $3,000 short. from that $17,000. And then based on our, what we spend annually for bills, I'd like to see at least 3 years from today to make sure that we have enough money to pay bills, and that would be about $6,000. So technically, I'm asking maybe about $10,000 because the 17.6 is even though it is an estimate, is not a definite. You know how construction goes, costs are always. The last thing I have to say about it is that this is the town's historical society. This is where we keep all the historic artifacts from this town. If we don't keep the building up, then we're gonna have to dispose of the artifacts. And Patty told me right off the bat, she doesn't want them here. So you have to make it to the town, basically, we're trying to go for grant money. We've been, we can't do anything about grant money this year. The particular grant that we were looking to apply for, we have to be on the register, the state register of historic places in order to get that grant. Because we are not on the state, I have to apply for that. So everything is a process. And the deadline for this year's application was October 3rd. So we missed it altogether anyway. So we won't be able to apply for more money now until next year, and that won't be for another 2 years out that we would get it, if we would get it.
So I've got a couple of questions. Does this address the abatement of, isn't there asbestos or, I'm sorry, lead paint? Does this address that at all?
They didn't even look, well, yes and no. The lead paint issue is also on the interior. But we are just trying to get the exterior, because there's no sense doing interior painting until the exterior is fixed. Because we have some window mullions that are broken and it's right out to the fresh air. So these things have to be addressed on the exterior first. So they didn't even get inside to look at the lead paint issue on the interior.
So is there lead paint on the outside?
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure when they start scraping down when it was paint, see, when the fire department had it up until 1978 or 79, that's when they took lead out of the paint.
Right.
So whenever they do any kind of scraping now on that building, because the paint color was red at that time when the firehouse owned it, you're still going to be red paint underneath the white. Because I've seen it. When the paint starts chipping, you can still see that red paint underneath.
So if they're going to be scraping it down, I didn't hear anything about abatement unless I missed it.
No, you didn't miss it. They didn't say anything about abatement.
Okay, so that's kind of my one question that would have to be specified, or it's going to be a huge cost that's going to be added. And because of the numbers, I think there should be more than one bid.
Good luck.
Can
I mean, it is not easy getting people out here this is great that I even got this, because sometimes when they hear that you're applying for grant money, they don't want to talk to you because they know that they're giving you an estimate and not really, they might not even get the job because of the fact that it's based on getting paid for a grant.
Well, okay.
I want to clarify, Paul, what you're saying with the lead abatement. I think it should be specified, but I would assume that the contractor would use lead safe practices in terms of assuming that there would be lead paint scraped off and that the contractor would be safe in containing that. But I think that I'd want to see that specified in the job.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, so if he didn't say it, and maybe he doesn't know because he wasn't, when he came to look at the building, I wasn't there. Because they're painting over at the church.
Well, being it's not a residential, multifamily residential, there may not be requirements or commercial building. There may not be specific requirements that they do specific lead practices.
Yeah.
But it would just be a best practice to, whether or not there are, and I don't know if there are, it'd be a best practice. But I think, Paul, I think that's what when you said abatement,
You're thinking it's gonna cost.
You could
more.
go,
Is that what
we
you're
could contract them to fully remove lead paint, and that, when you say abatement, that's what I think of as full removal, and I don't think that's, I think we're just looking for responsible containment in the context of scraping, priming, paint.
Well, if they're removing it, if they're removing lead paint, it's called abatement.
I think, well, there's a distinction of like purposely removing every bit of lead paint from the exterior of the building, which would be a specific kind of abatement, versus scraping it and containing what comes off naturally.
Okay, I think we're splitting hairs because the quote doesn't even specify that, so it's something.
That's
I
because
mean,
I'm trying to specify what we're talking about. And when you say abatement, you could mean one of those two things. And I think we mean the thing where they're containing what naturally comes off the building, not a full removal of all lead.
So I'm looking at a healthvermont.gov webpage here. And the Vermont Lead Poisoning Prevention Law passed in '96 and updated in 2008. The law requires owners of rental housing and child care facilities built before 1978 to make sure lead paint coatings are in good condition so they do not cause lead poisoning. And then to comply with the law, there's things that people have to do. So I don't think there's from what I can see, there isn't something that says you have to do lead abatement on this building.
I don't think
right?
there is.
Right,
Yeah.
so
And I think,
I think the point is, if you're gonna scrape the building, right, and paint it, then you're gonna have lead paint flying around and you gotta do something with that, right? Is that an accurate?
yeah, and my assumption is that
Interpretation.
any responsible painter would be doing that, but given that it's not a specific state requirement, it should be right in the job description.
well,
Okay.
and somebody more knowledgeable about the topics than us should be the one providing us with what the law states as far as the EPA. Because I know at the cupola at the school, there you had to have somebody with a special license to even test to see if there was lead paint on it. And then they had to have they had to follow special practices in order to be able to actually paint it. So
I agree with you,
I'm
Paul.
just, that's what I'm basing this on. So I'm just saying that, I understand flipping something to a website, but it should be clarified and we should get more than one estimate for it.
I agree with you. We should have somebody that really knows this material to advise us on, so we don't create liability for the town, right? The last thing we want to do.
Exactly.
Can I,
However, the school is a childcare facility, right? So I think that would fall under some very strict guidelines, but I'm with you. We should make sure we get our ducks in a row here.
I think Andrea wants to.
how is this becoming an issue for the town?
Well, if there's lead paint that, comes off of the building and is, subsequently ingested by somebody, then that will become an issue.
I mean, maybe we're
Or
being
it
too
can-
careful, Andrea, but if somebody gets sick, right? Somebody gets hurt, somebody gets sick, right? Then you have attorneys get involved and attorneys are looking for deep pockets, right?
So-
And they don't care. And anytime you touch it, you run the risk of being of significant liability.
So my question is, because you're giving us, the town's giving us money, that's what the issue is?
I think so.
Oh, gotcha.
We're just
All
looking
right,
for-
all right, I'm just trying to figure that one out. All right.
So Andrea, is it possible for you to ask CD Painting to update this quote with some language around how they will deal with the lead paint that we know is on those windows? And then I think we could have somebody look at that and see if
Yeah,
is that
I
a
would like
good
to see
next
that.
step?
Yeah, a couple, yeah.
And then I also agree with Paul that it would be nice to have 3 quotes, but I also hear Andrea's point that may not be possible, so I guess.
Well, there's someone that I know that does window restoration that I've been wanting to reach out to, and I will make sure to do that.
I mean,
It's just
we're
the-
talking about the whole building here, right? Not just the windows, but
you know,
the windows.
this
are part.
building has already been painted once.
How long ago was that? Any of you?
When it went from the fire department to over to the historical society, which was 79.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
already been painted once.
Mm.
The paint that's on there now, I don't think is the lead paint. The
No.
paint that's underneath it
Yeah.
is, is
But
the
it'll
lead
come,
paint.
you have to treat it the same, it'll
Yeah,
come off.
But, I'm not sure about the caulk, because those windows, I don't think have been reglazed since that building's been there.
I think we should, I would like to try to get a couple more quotes, and I mentioned I have one person I can try to encourage to look at it. Maybe we can all think of
Well, so
someone.
I think, it's historical size building, we're just trying to help them out get this thing painted, right? So, should we be in a position to try to manage this for them, or should we just say, look, these are the things that, we would need in order to be comfortable going down this path?
Well, I just know a guy that'd be good, so
Okay.
I'd reach out.
Okay,
And I think that, these folks are working hard on it, so if we can help, we can help. I think in general, I would not,
I think this is a low estimate, to be honest with you.
I do
Um,
too.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I think until we get the
Well,
for the town garage roof, I would not be ready to really make a decision on this.
There could be somebody from the state that could help too. As far as, contractors that would do this kind of stuff, or, there's got to be other people around that can, and if our area is running dry on that, well, there might be, different places they might have those names, I guess is what I'm saying.
Can I just ask a point of information? Do we have to follow our purchasing policy if we use the ARPA funding for something like this?
We'd have to look at-
But I don't understand, if you're giving us the money, I guess you have to clarify it. If you're,
Well,
if the state is just giving the money to somebody, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How does that make you liable?
I think that the board should be following the practices as if it was one of our, we're giving the money to whatever organization or for whatever purpose within the town. I think we ought to be following the same practices we would be doing if we were going to be, doing work on any, as if it was our money, because ultimately it's in our accounts. Was given to the town of Halifax. I don't know. I guess that would be great for an attorney to answer.
I think from my point of view, it's more about just doing due diligence, and if we're basically allocating this is taxpayer funding, we should do our best, we should be responsible with it. I'm not convinced that there's specific liability or specific reason for it.
Well, no, I mean, my point is that if somebody gets hurt, you have personal injury attorneys involved, right? And they're gonna go everywhere, right? They're just gonna go after anybody that's touched this thing, right? And I don't think it's a big deal. Don't get me wrong, right? I don't think it's a big deal. I just have to make sure you cover the bases, that's all.
Yeah, but we have insurance, the historical society carries insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's about making sure that they're insured. This is the kind of thing the purchasing policy covers too.
Well, we need to find out what the rules are, right? Make sure we play by the rules, right? For lead contamination, make
Well,
sure.
I think we can do further research on that. I'm already familiar with those rules, and I think we're not having to deal with those rules.
Okay,
It's not a residential or childcare facility, and I'm familiar with those rules.
okay.
I don't think that's an issue. I think we're just more talking about due diligence, wise use of taxpayer funding, and is the contractor doing a good job? To me, the liability thing, that
I can go back, I'll
it's
just.
hard
go
for me
back
to imagine
CB.
where that would come into play, but maybe there's some reason
Well,
to.
someone talk to the preacher, because the church just had it done, and
That's an old building, that's older than the historical society.
And they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, and they're those are the people.
David has his hand up again.
Let me talk to CB again, and so we don't have to keep going on with us.
I just want to say that I want to applaud the Historical Society and the current leadership for taking initiative to research projects like this, raising the funds. There's a lot of work to do. You came in a few months ago, described a huge amount of work to do. I know you've been chipping away at it and you've been raising funds. I appreciate that. as a taxpayer, select board member, town person. I think these ARPA funds could dry up really quick when we look at some of our other needs, so I'm not in a position to say whether I think we should allocate anything towards it, but I like the fact that you're looking for some, share of funding and not looking us to the town to just go for all of it. And I think I would say there's potential there. There's some bugs we should try to iron out here.
Yeah, so I guess, well, David's got his hand up. David, you got something for us?
Just a quick note from the Union Society's experience. The paint contractors themselves are well versed in the requirements for containing lead in paint that's scraped. And they should be able to assess and advise in the course of making their quote to the Historical Society.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David.
Can somebody scan that in and email it to me after? Obviously not now, but after, so I can get a copy of what you guys are looking at.
Of the quote that we
Yeah.
got?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll just do this. I'll just send them a picture.
You gonna do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just do it.
Okay. All right, so headed your way.
Thank you. So next agenda item was about our alternates to the DVFiber Governing Board.
All right, David Jones'
Um,
proposal for serving as one of the town's alternates to DVFiber Governing
And-
Board.
So I just want to speak on behalf of as the chair of the chair of the broadband committee. The broadband committee wasn't able to meet on this, but I feel confident that we would support. David Jones has been a strong member of the committee. He's been our clerk. He's previously served as a rep to DVFiber. He's actually been serving as the DVFiber operations head. And the fact that he's now been replaced, they have a full-time executive director. So DVFiber and the town, I think it's all in our best interest to keep David involved, and the suggestion is to appoint him as an alternate. So I would like to move that the select board appoint David Jones as an alternate.
I'll
for the
second that.
DVFiber Governing Board.
Yeah, I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for doing that, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Next item, applicants for highway department. Mike,
I think there was one in here.
we have one.
We have
Okay, so we have one. Blake Janowski. Is that Wade, in relation to Wade? Oh, okay.
Let's set up a interview.
Yeah, we'd like to set up an interview. Maybe we can do it before the next select board meeting, or
Well, would you want to set up a special meeting just to interview? Does it feel timely to get it done ASAP? Or can we wait 2 weeks? Mike, do you have any?
I have no preference. Don't matter to me.
if we can get a quorum together for a special, I would suggest we do this sooner rather than later.
What can let's do it. We just, how did that come in?
Yeah, he must have dropped it off. It looks like it's not folded or anything.
So Rosa, could you
Mhm.
contact him and work to set up a,
Sure. Should he come in during him?
we're gonna do a special meeting first,
Mm,
so it could be,
You're gonna do it during the week or weekend? Just for a heads up, my October, I'm pretty booked for weekend.
for the weekend, so you'd rather try to do it.
Next weekend I could do
I think it'd be good to
Saturday morning, Sunday.
be,
Next weekend I'm gonna be gone. Weekend after I'm gonna be gone.
Could we do any, like a 6 o'clock in the evening, you know,
what can we try to do it during the week?
yeah, possible, Mike, for you?
What day?
What
This
day?
week, yes. Next week up until Friday. Or Saturday morning, yes. Week after, no.
So
So we don't have a select board meeting.
Mike, have you interviewed him already?
No.
So
let's do
wouldn't,
that.
shouldn't Mike talk to him and get a feel for him? And kind of like do a cursory interview and then for a second interview, bring it to the board?
You know,
I think we've previously done just interviews with the board. And I think that
Ultimately, it's the select board decision.
and it's a strong candidate. I think let's try to move it forward. This would be my preference.
Does he have a CDL?
As far as I know, no.
It's not listed on the resume. Oh, yeah, it says, this is reading from state additional information about yourself. I work well with others and I'm always willing to learn. Been around road crews my whole life. As my dad is highway boss of Whitingham and uncle is currently highway boss, willing to get CDL with help. And employed in Halifax Town Highway. I always keep trucks clean. Good. I've met late. We should interview him.
Okay, so, yeah, so Paul, I guess, you know, we haven't done that sort of 2-stage or, you know, first, second interview previously. It sounds like, you know, we'll just try to move forward.
It'd be a good idea if you had more than one applicant.
Yeah,
Try to weasel out some of the ones that weren't as qualified, but.
Mm.
I know I got one applicant, you might as well just do it all one and done.
so but you're good
Well,
evenings up until Friday next week.
Well, I have a question for Mike, because when we were talking about this before, he said that, you had said, Mike, that you didn't want us to jump on, you know, if we only got one applicant, you didn't want us to jump on somebody that right away, if you didn't think that they were gonna, you know, to kind of hold out and wait and see what we get. Is that changed because we really haven't gotten any?
It's been in the paper for 3 weeks, 3 weeks or a month, and it's all we've got.
Okay,
And I think, we'll be, we'll be judicious, with our decision coming out of the interview, right? We'll just have to be careful, that's all.
So, Rosa, can you coordinate between Mike's schedule constraints, ask Blake what he's available, and just try to get as many of us as you can
Sure,
for a meeting this week or next week?
Yep.
Special, and then we have to warn us a special meeting.
yeah, morning or afternoon or evenings better.
Evenings.
Evening.
Sooner is better, right? So,
Sure,
If you're doing something this week or next week, and I'm fine, just tell me what day.
okay.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll get a couple of times from him and then I'll see what you guys.
Great, thank you.
Yep,
Okay, next item. Let's see.
Yours, are you?
yep. Thanks.
Improvement on signage at the recycling bins. I've been kind of holding off on this because, Lewis manages that. But, it's on the agenda, so. What I want to do is I want to put up a much larger sign with rules. I mean, it's very frustrating for me when I go down there and people are throwing their garbage in there. And there's potatoes rolling around on the ground and it's just horrible. So I want to make a bigger sign, like a big vinyl sign and put it down there. I want to try to continue the video surveillance. I'm gonna do this. I'm willing to take this on. I'll just take care of the whole thing, right? But because it aggravates me. So
Aggravates me too.
yeah, so
So when we put one at your house, then you guys.
Well, Well,
Thanks,
do you
Mike.
think, I mean, I really don't think a sign is gonna make a difference. Whether, even if you painted the instructions on the cans themselves, the bins themselves, there's people are still gonna do the same thing.
Well, some will, Paul. You know, I'm not saying, it's not, none of this stuff is 100%. But I have talked to people that I know that are responsible, reasonable people trying to do the right thing. And they weren't aware they're not supposed to put plastic bags in there.
I think if you're willing to work on this, Pete, bless your heart and go to town.
Right, so, all right, so I'm gonna put a big sign up down there. I'll need a little bit of help from Mike to do that. And I'm gonna put a better camera down there that could give me more detail,
Yeah.
right? So I can read tags, right? So
That's cool.
Where's the camera now?
I had 2 cameras down there on, so there's 2 big 6x6s,
Yeah.
right? There was cameras on those, but I wasn't getting the detail and the timing and.
Camera on the building.
No,
But it
yeah.
Oh, that's not gonna do anything.
You hardly see what color the car is, let alone like.
No, it's gonna be right there, and I think,
Back in 2018, that the town was supposed to get cameras for this specific purpose.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, but
And
they
then-
put
and they're
them,
stuck on the building.
yeah, and you're not gonna see what you
Yeah,
have to say.
the igloo, or I call them igloos, they
Yeah.
gotta be all 500, 600, 700 feet from the building.
The other issue is that the dumpsters are going in the wrong direction. So if you
And I
park
did
the
that
car in
4
between the
years ago,
dumpsters, the camera's not gonna see you.
well, I had 2 cameras, one this way and one the other
And you
way.
still couldn't see.
It was a detail issue,
Yeah.
right? And it was also the timing of it, because, you know, it's motion activated and it would trip. And then you never quite got them actually doing the deed, right? So,
Yeah.
so I want to work on that, right?
So-
So I think there's some opportunity.
You need any help making a sign? I know a guy who makes signs. if you need.
How much do you guys get fined yearly for bad garbage?
Actually, at this point, we're not getting fined at all.
Okay.
Last I knew, right?
Well, they will take money out of what they
Because
send if it's.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, because this is what we had in Connecticut. We had people that they actually paid to
Mhm.
sit there
Yeah.
and to watch.
They do in Weddingham.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't have to have you don't have to have it open every day of the week. You can have it open a couple of times and have it manned. Especially if you're paying fines all the time, and that way you monitor what's going in.
I think I think
The
we consider
difference-
this, and this is kind of what's the net feasible next step.
It's-
It's way out of our league to sort of staff it or deal with those headaches, and it's not, they do in Weddingham and they have problems, plenty of problems still.
Yeah, they're still having dump off.
Well, the difference is between a recycling bin and a transfer station. Whitingham has a transfer station, and that's probably what you were talking about, Andrea. Yeah. And this isn't that. It's more of like what Marlboro has down by the school, where they have the recycling bin down by the school.
I mean, my feeling, we spend quite a lot of money, some tens of thousands of dollars on this program,
Mm.
and it's gonna go away if we can't fix it. That's what's gonna happen, right? So I'm just trying desperately to avoid that,
Can I
right?
just make a motion to make it go away?
No. You need to get on the select board if you want.
That's the next job.
Yeah, I think we talked about it
Yeah.
enough, honestly. I think that please do those next steps. Let's see if that helps.
Right, and I'll just let Louis know, right? I didn't want to step on his toes, is why I've been waiting on this.
He's gonna be happy.
Okay.
Well, to Mike's point, actually, is, when we start talking about budgets, I don't know whether this is the town highway budget or it must be the select board budget. It may behoove us to have that as an article that we actually discuss and have it be in addition to the budget and not
Why
have it
not?
be in the budget.
Oh, you mean like voted on separately?
Yes, yeah, because it seems to be a contentious thing within the town, and let people talk about it or have it, something like that. I don't know, just something to think about for when we're talking about budget time.
Well, I think yeah.
It says, I think that's a reasonable idea, so, it depends on how you want, we could get an article by having a certain number of signatures, right, on an article to get it on there, or I think the board could put an article on.
Yeah, no,
Right, so-
I was suggesting that the board do it and say, hey, we've heard the taxpayers for the townspeople for so many years saying, these people don't like it, these people do like it, these people want to keep it, these people want to get rid of it. Well, put it up to a vote, say, here you go. If we want to move forward and this is the cost, then this article needs to be approved, and the board can do that.
Okay. All right, well, when we get into our budget talks, we can discuss that. Meantime, I'll see if I can help it one way or another.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks.
Thank you for doing that, Pete.
Okay, a pleasure, really. I'm gonna enjoy it if I can catch somebody.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna be like a dog catching a car, though, Pete. What are you gonna do?
Okay.
I just got a visual. Thanks, Tristan.
Well, we can
Well, we
impose
have an
fines
ordinance,
as a
yeah.
board. If we can identify the person, we can find them.
yeah.
So next item, email distribution sign up. Where did that one come from?
Yeah, I put that on there. What I just noticed is that we have this new email distribution system through MailChimp for agendas. And we don't at current, or we didn't last week, that I noticed how to sign up place for that on the website, or place that people could say, hey, I want this. So I just would want to ask you to add it.
Yep.
I think on the homepage in the top right, there's a natural spot to have a link to sign up for that. And the select board, the main select board page would be the other one. That's all.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it should be on the landing page, not on the select board page, or both, but
When you say landing page, but select board landing or?
no,
the
for the town.
Right, so I said that, yeah, so the homepage, top right,
Yeah.
for the whole town, and then the select board main page. For the key
Oh,
ones.
yeah. Sorry, is everything or,
No, it's okay, yeah, I'm with this kind of thing, I'd say do it everywhere, honestly.
yeah. Do we know how many people have signed up for that?
38, I believe.
38?
Great.
If I get a letter from you stating the agenda, Rosa, that means I'm on that list
Yeah.
already? Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Well, last time I sent it through the distribution and through MailChimp, so,
Yeah, I think I did see two. Did I see, would
Okay,
I have seen two
yes, if you,
two
yep,
notifications? Okay,
Yeah.
but they would both come from you?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving on to old business here. First one's Bill Moore. On the cemetery funds.
Got cemetery commissioners here who want information.
Yes, that's one of the reasons we're here. What is this about? Where did this money come from? What is it earmarked for?
Let me go and join the cemetery commissioners.
Did Pat leave?
Does it make this not a quorum now?
I mean, long story short, the trustee of public funds informed Patty, informed the select board that he's been shepherding some funds, that some assets, I believe some stock, and then the income from that wasn't really going anywhere. These funds didn't really have a home. And I'm saying that in non-accounting language.
$17,000?
And that's what we learned. And so there's been discussion about kind of where to. There's no documentation of this. Everyone's asked, is there documentation? There isn't any. Lewis hasn't found any. Patty doesn't know anything about it. So there's no documentation, but we had some idea that it was intended. It's been used for the cemetery. It's been intended for the cemetery. So I think there's just been discussion of how to properly home these funds in our accounting
We'll take it.
system.
Well, are these funds that have been set aside for the town or some part of the town to act as trustee? Because that's a specific kind of regulation that needs to be followed. Or was this a donation to the town for the cemetery?
They've had it for a while,
Yeah.
and the origin of it is murky.
But it's not
Did-
cash.
Did you guys get my email with the statute on that? About,
Yeah, that was what I was
And my feeling was
wondering too.
there's some income being generated by it, but not much. And so there's discussion of sort of that going to the cemetery fund. The assets themselves are being held by the town and trust.
Those assets, are they
The
are
17
they
the
in
stock.
cash or are they in
The stock.
stocks or?
The stock is something like Connecticut Power Company.
Well, yeah, this is Connecticut Light and Power for about 4,000, and then the balance, I think, is just in a bank account, I think.
And
Yeah, a lot of times the income is what gets distributed. Kind of like the Wick Cemetery Fund, which I asked Patty for the email address of the cemetery commissioners, because earlier this year I found out that the Wick Cemetery Fund hasn't been getting the income distributed out to the board, to the cemetery commissioners, and so there should be $600 that was received to the cemetery commissioners, which is specific to the Wick Cemetery Fund. And this was the other one that I think was just generic for the upkeep of the cemeteries.
I did ask. I'm sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, so I mean, there could also be, I mean, I use Edward Jones, and they're awesome about, how do you want them, what do you want the money to do for you? Is it, and how to properly invest it so that you get the most bang for your buck, and being able to get that income. So you've got the, some kind of stable, income coming in, because these things, most of the stocks will have a certain percentage dividend.
Yeah, but you're not reinvesting the dividends though.
No, you're paying out, you're cashing out, you're receiving the dividends. That's your income.
Right. But what is that producing on $4,000?
Well, there's like the balance. That's stock, that's CLP, Connecticut Light and Power stock.
Yeah.
right? And it's only like $400 or something like that.
So I have
So-
a recommendation. So the cemetery commissioners are working on a plan to get the cemeteries back into the position. It's going to require a lot of money, more than $17,000. So I suggest that and we'll have this plan, by the end of the month, when we take a look at that, we can maybe discuss how all or part of that $17,000 can be contributed to what's going to be a multi-year plan to really get the cemetery back in order, in addition to an annual amount that comes from the town budget. I do think that the select board needs to decide if they want to allow the cemetery commissioners to cash out those stocks. If there's no trustee agreement, then it seems to me like we should be able to do that if we decide that's the best way to use the money. But
You can't though. I'll follow up with the Secretary of State on that. If the funds are in the control of a trustee of public funds, the select board can't instruct anybody to do anything, because it's not the select board's purview, because it's under the control of the trustee of public funds.
talk to Bill Moore about it. Are we allowed to do that?
You can, if Bill understands, and I guess I'll talk to Bill Moore too, as a fellow trustee, and ask, what's Sandy's husband there? His name's drawn a blank for me. Who does the like the Kale Scholarship and those other ones? Because he's been doing this a lot longer than me, to make sure that the right decisions are made, and the proper decisions based on what the requirements are for trustee of public funds.
so, okay, so these funds are being held in trust. They're not
Yes.
being held by.
Well, by an elected officer of the town, the trustee of public funds.
Right, but that's the whole 17,000 or
Yes.
just 1,000.
The
Oh,
whole 17, yeah.
oh,
So it's not a select board. We couldn't just decide, oh yeah, but
Right.
I think having this conversation,
Is good.
coordinating between the commission, the select board representing kind of broad taxpayer interests, talking to the trustee of public funds, I think that's an appropriate conversation to have, especially given how active and the forethought that you guys are having. I think that should-
Once we're done with this, Paul, you brought up the Wick Cemetery Fund.
Yeah.
I have no idea where that is. I just asked Patty about that. We had some work done at Wick Cemetery, getting some dead trees cleared out, that could possibly damage more stones. When I talked to Patty a couple of yesterday, I think. I talked to her yesterday. She gave me the only information that she had of cemetery commission funds were the general fund and then the restoration team fund. There was no mention of anything about the Wick Cemetery, which I've heard of.
Well, yeah, no, she actually received a check about 2 months ago for $600. And that was specifically for the Wick Cemetery. That can't be used on anything else. It needs to be used for the Wick Cemetery.
Then she apparently deposited that into the cemetery commission fund. Or,
Well, and she can't, and she can, but it needs to be only used for the Wick Cemetery.
should have been separated out. Okay, so I can
Okay.
figure, I can ask her about that.
So, Paul, is that also the trustee of public funds that's holding that, the capital that's generating that cash
Where'd
flow?
that go?
For the Wick Cemetery?
Asking in general.
Yes,
Okay.
that's me.
I think
Okay.
Niles Cemetery was supposed to have a separate fund too for that cemetery. Where did that money go?
I don't know. I'm the trustee of public funds for the Wick Cemetery and for the Scott Fund.
What's the
Me-
Scott Fund?
The
Scott
Scott Fund
Cemetery.
is a different fund that
All right.
for,
Mike, do you have a question? Did you have, you
The only
had,
thing I was gonna say was, you guys are going on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Bill Moore asked you guys what you wanted to do with it because he didn't know what to do with it.
that's, I think, an important basis for this conversation, Paul, that Bill asked us.
Yeah, that was the prompt.
well, maybe I'll talk to Bill. So I'll touch base with Bill Moore and see what, try to get an understanding of what's going on with this whole thing, because the select board can't direct that. And I also need to talk to the Secretary of State's office to find out, I don't believe that I would have the authority to even liquidate a fund. If the cemetery commissioners come to me, or the town comes to me and says, hey, we need to put a new roof on the town garage, we need you to liquidate $150,000 from the Scott Fund. I'm not sure I could do that.
But Paul, that's apples and oranges.
No, it's not. You're asking a trustee of public fund to liquidate an account.
You're not doing
To give
anything.
them-
Bill asked us what we want to do. We said, let's talk to the cemetery commission. Here they are. This is a conversation. This is not a word telling Bill what to do. And
No,
Bill can
what
make that
I'm-
decision for himself as the trustee.
Right, but what I'm saying is, as the trustee, I don't think you can actually liquidate the fund. You need to preserve the principal balance and have it be an income generating
Well, I.
investment. That's
see that
that's where,
question Understood. I disagree. I think it's important to note that Bill asked us what we want to do. So we're not telling Bill anything. We're engaging in the conversation that he initiated.
So Paul, maybe you know the answer to this, right? So what causes, when somebody makes a donation, right? You know, and you put it in trust and it's managed by the trustee, that's a specific process to do that. Is that correct?
I believe so. I mean, right here, I've got a letter. Yeah, this letter here, for example, from the Wick Cemetery Fund. Please accept this letter as evidence of our desire to establish a trust fund in memory of Roger Lee McBride for the perpetual care of the Wick Cemetery, with necessary payments only from the income of such interest trust fund monies. Should there be any remainder income available, our intention is that this would be used for other cemeteries in the town of Halifax.
Okay, great. So, I mean, very, very clear, right, about what the intent is and how it's to be managed. I don't think we have that with this, wherever this came from. And I think that's why Bill's asking what to do with it, because there, we don't have an indication that it is a trust fund like that. We don't know what it is. I think that's really the issue.
Well, and that's, so there's a couple of things there, and because there's that piece of it that nobody, Lewis, I think, looked as well and can't find anything in the archives as far as where this money actually originated from. The other piece of it is what's the responsibility of the trustee of public funds? And,
Right, well, I mean-
that's what I don't know the answer to. And that's pinnacle to this whole discussion,
Right.
regardless of who asked who what.
Right, well, that's what I'm trying to get to, right, is that, we have this, substantial amount of money that somehow, I guess, is pointed at the cemeteries. I'm not even sure how that works. But that's what it sounds like, and we don't know what, our responsibility is, or Bill doesn't know what his responsibility is. We're just confused, and so I think what we should.
Help you. Let the cemetery.
Seems like
commissioners help you.
I think we beat this horse.
We'll deconfuse all of this.
So that's what I would like to see, right? I mean, I think there should be some path forward to figure out how to, what we can and can't do, right? Based on, what the intent was, I guess.
Can
so.
we find out when the stock was purchased from CL&P? If you find out when the stock was purchased from CL&P, you should find out what, then I would assume that year, well, not necessarily unless the stock was gifted. If the stock was gifted, then you don't have any idea when it was purchased. I'm going on the idea, if the stock is purchased at a certain date and given over to the town at a certain date, shouldn't they be able to go back into the archives and find out when this money was transferred over?
Yeah, and you should also, I mean, we'd be able to see what the actual ownership name of record is on that. But the transfer agent for Connecticut Light and Power would certainly be able to provide you with that.
Right, so my impression was when we had this discussion previously, when Lewis was here, I think Lewis was here, was that they found this $17,000 plus some stock, right? And somehow pointed to cemeteries, and that's it, right? So don't know if it was gifted as stock, don't know if it was purchased, don't know if it was done at the
So-
same time.
Yeah, but when you go to sell that stock, they're gonna need to know what it was
Right,
purchased
you gotta need
for
the
and when it
basis
was
for it,
purchased.
yeah.
That's
for your
an
capital
accounting,
gain.
that's an accounting thing.
Sorry, they're,
Oh,
I
there
think
you go. There it is right here. Here's the guy.
Bill,
you're here to help.
welcome. So, okay, so let me ask a question to sort of get this going. So, this $17,000 that's in a fund somewhere, what can you tell us about it? TD Bank, all right. Cemetery, so it's in an account at TD Bank. That's called,
Everything except the Connecticut Light and Power.
and it's called the Cemetery Fund.
Yep.
Do we know any more than that about it?
Nope,
Could this be the Nile Cemetery Fund that,
nope.
that's different? Okay,
Do you know anything about a Nile cemetery?
Nope, I don't manage it.
Okay.
So it's actually
You
two
know who
accounts.
Well, there's three of us.
So can I ask a general question about the three of you? Do you are there accounts that you publish or anything so that we
I
can
have the
see?
Eames- I have the Eames Fund and this one. The Eames Fund is money donated by a gentleman that passed away before my time. I don't know anything about him, but he donated about 125. This is a guesstimate right now
Yeah.
without the figures in front of me, somewhere around 125 to $130,000. It sets the Brattleboro savings and loan in 2 CDs.
Okay,
And there's a little savings account along with them.
but I guess what I'm asking is there a list of all of these funds that exist? Because we, as the cemetery commissioners, we know, we hear about various funds, but it would be nice to.
As far as I know, there's only the Niles Fund and this one.
And then there's the,
I have the Wick Cemetery Fund.
Oh, there, well, okay, there's more than one, more than two.
So who
so where
does,
are these
does
funds
the-
published?
yeah, it's in the town book.
In the town report, okay.
What has this been published in the town report?
Yeah. Every
Yeah.
year you have to submit one.
Okay,
Oh, so-
Auditors want to see them.
Okay,
Bill,
so, and this 17, it's 17,653. That's what's in the bank. And then in addition to that, there's a Connecticut Light and Power, and that was like 4,000.
I don't know what exactly it's worth.
Well, it's around, that's,
Yeah, I've never seen a certificate.
okay,
All I get is the $60 a quarter and a year-end statement.
okay.
And it's paying $240 a year compared to, hang on, let me get my reading specs on. This account aggregates $13.22 a year. And the Connecticut Light and Power, which Connecticut can buy us out of it anytime they choose, but it pays $240 a year, which isn't much either.
Hmm.
But in my time running this, and my time running this goes back to Laura Sumner, I don't forget the exact year I got this. My wife said, sure, you'll do it.
Okay.
Nobody's ever tapped it.
Hmm.
On the other hand, Lewis yanks, well, he took 3,000 out of the Eames fund this year. Lewis comes and gets money out of the Eames fund every year. Most years. He might have missed one. The Eames fund, we get the interest to do things that the select board wants to do. I don't know what
There's
Lewis
a
does with it.
There's a scholarship. If there's interest by the cemetery commission in accessing liquidating this and using it towards cemetery upkeep. Right,
That's what I was always under the impression for. It was to pay the guys that went around and
yeah,
cleaned up the
not
cemetery.
just the dividend, but to just have access to the whole asset, you know.
Yeah, well, part of this is in a CD, so it's a tough time accessing that.
Oh,
But yeah,
You know,
the rest
whenever it
of it is
comes,
accessible, barring the Connecticut Light and Power.
whenever the CD
So-
matures, could be,
I'm sorry.
whenever the CD matures, then it could be.
Yeah, this
So-
CD seems to be in a bit of a different situation with TD Bank.
Okay.
So Bill, my question is, can a trustee of public funds liquidate an asset, or are we obligated by statute to preserve its principal balance?
In the case of the Eames Fund, we're obligated to preserve the principal balance. In the case of the cemetery fund, I don't think so. I wouldn't know how to go about liquidating the Connecticut Light and Power, but everything else in there, I think. Nobody donates to this, so once you use it, it's gone. So if you're thinking about getting rid of the principal, but then on the other hand, $253.22 a year isn't gonna go very far towards paying guys to clean up cemeteries.
No, I'm surprised that that hasn't gone into some kind of other investment.
Right, I think it was,
I haven't moved. I've moved from bank to bank to try and maximize interest on account. Because this cemetery fund did have an Eames fund CD in it, but when they couldn't match Brattleboro Savings and Loans jump up CD, I took it out, put it in Brattleboro Savings and Loan. I haven't moved the cemetery fund too much.
Well, what we were saying, Bill, before you walked in, is that the cemetery commissioners are coming up with a multi-year plan to improve the cemeteries. And we would like to use these funds to the extent that we can to help finance that. Otherwise, it's all going to be on the taxpayers, you know, so if you can help us figure that piece out and how to get as much of this money as possible, that would be great.
The CD is around 10 grand, so
Yeah.
there's 7 grand in there up for playing with pretty easily, as far as I know right now.
Yeah, and the 10 grand, can
I
you find
can- I
out
can
when that
find out.
matures?
What the parameters are on that, because as far as I know, there's no limits on moving
things out of this account, like there is on the Eames fund. Eames fund, all we can play with is the interest.
And like you said, for the Connecticut Power and Livestock, not, that it pays about 1 hour of cemetery cleaning per year. It would probably be beneficial to be able to use that capital also.
It doesn't go into the CD, it goes into I think it goes into the third line. I'd have to look.
What I guess I'm saying is if we can liquidate that stock,
Oh, you wish to liquidate it?
yeah.
Don't know off the top of my head what it would take, but certainly one can find out.
Yeah, if you can look into it, that would be great.
On the statement, it's gonna have a transfer agent. And you would contact a transfer agent.
There's a phone number on the transfer
Yeah.
statement.
Okay,
So it's definitely not a trust. Right?
Well,
No?
how is the statement worded?
Which statement?
The state-
Connecticut Light?
Yeah, the CLP.
I don't remember. I didn't bring that one with me.
Because
Well-
that would be, because if it was in trust, however, the ownership of the stock is how the document would read, your statement would read. So,
Well,
so if you want to just get back to me, because as both a select board member and cemetery commissioner, I'll work with you to try to figure all this stuff out. That'd be great.
and my time is mine of this funds. I'm not running for reelection for this again.
Okay, well, the sooner we liquidate it, the better.
Well, let's see, is it the first Tuesday in March? Is when it comes up for election.
Yeah.
Whoever gets elected wins.
You don't have to run the election. We could just appoint you, right?
No.
We can appoint him, but he doesn't have to accept it. That's the.
Okay.
You can figure out some next steps on this. So,
But
thank you.
I'm turning loose to this job and zoning administrator. Not that that's an important to make. But I'm reaching that point where.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm turning loose. I think.
Yeah.
well, there's
Right.
gonna
Well,
be
thanks for
two
bringing
trustee
this to
of
our
public funds positions open then.
Yes, it will be. Yeah, I've told Patty Dow that I'm gonna be in trustee of public funds. She knows, and I assume she's looking for somebody.
Are you the other one, Paul?
Yep. I do too many things. It's time to start backing down.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay, so. can we keep
so
this?
find out about the CD, find out about Connecticut Light and Power, and pass along to Patrick.
thank you,
I'll
Bill.
give this to Patrick. Okay.
Thanks.
And I'll contact Patty regarding the WIC fund. If that $600 was put into the general fund for the cemetery or not.
When I went, Patty dug up some material on the cemetery fund and I gotta tell you, it seems a bit, other than the Niles one, which seems to have a bit of history to it. The others seem to be kind of out there where the buses don't run.
No, I've got a letter from
Yeah.
that's dated 1995 for about the Wick Cemetery Fund. And then actually, no, that was dated in 95. And then there was another letter where they did additional contributions to the principal of it.
Yeah, because I don't know how the Connecticut Light and Power money got, how we acquired the stock. I have no idea. Because when I got the paperwork and became caretaker of it, I got it in a shoebox.
Great Halifax tradition.
It's now on,
Hey, Paul, when they
Yeah.
issue a stock certificate, it's numbered and registered. Can that?
Yeah, I think they're not like that anymore. Usually,
like that?
usually it's just digital. You get a statement. I
yeah,
mean, if
there's no certificate, there is a check that comes quarterly for $60.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's-
usually,
It has all the, I mean, all the information I have on it is on, I get on that little quarterly check.
yeah, and usually in order to request a certificated share, you know, your shares to be actually certificated, there's fees to that and all that. People don't usually do that anymore.
I should know when that was purchased.
Okay,
The transfer agent.
He or she may know something that I don't, which wouldn't be much.
There's a game.
all right, well, thanks, Bill, appreciate your help with that, and Patrick, and I guess
Was
we'll
You know,
leave it
another
at that.
thought-
Impression these started at 7, was I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
started 6 for.
Oh.
Your
You
timing
came
was
in-
excellent.
you came in
Perfect. Oh, well, we just got better, like, good. I was under the impression it started at 7, so.
We
So
used
just
to.
another thought is the auditors records. I mean, all of our town reports, we should have all the town reports and they were always audited. So there should be, looking back through the old town reports, if you go back in 10-year blocks or 5-year blocks or something like that, we might see when that actually started.
Yeah, if they go back before my time as miner of the funds, I don't know. I don't know how I just turn them into the auditor at the end of June and then Patty gets them printed in the town report.
Right.
But that's a good idea, Paul. That's, yeah, going back through the
Yeah,
town
you could-
reports and see when it started. You get some information.
Yeah, the town reports might indicate when Connecticut Light and Power might have been purchased.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Or gifted.
Yeah, that's a possibility too, like the Eames Fund was a request from his estate.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item here. Again, thanks. for the
That's
help.
all you need
Appreciate
from
it.
me.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Bill.
I'm glad I could be of help.
Okay, next item is town garage roof, review bid specs.
So I drafted a bid spec, a request, RFP request for bid for the replacing town garage roof. I shared it early today. If anyone had a chance to review it.
Yeah, I thought it looked great. One question, do they ever ask for any kind of warranty against defect? I don't know
no,
if,
I don't know. I don't know if that would be,
Usually like shingles are like a 30-year warranty on the material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cylinder Metal would be the same
I
thing.
mean, that's from that's the manufacturer warranty. So if there's a manufacturer warranty, that would get passed through to us. The contractor would normally, I think it'd be dependent. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it was in the.
From you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to put it as a required scope of work, but perhaps it could be an additional, one of the considerations that any sort of warranty information on materials or workmanship should be included in the bid package.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that's a thing that, you know what I mean? Because this is out of my element. It was just something that I was reading. I was like, well, how do we get protected? Kind of like the roof that we got now, we kind of got shafted on. How do we get protected that we don't spend $100,000 on this roof and then it's going to leak again because somebody didn't do it right?
Well, it's basically in the contract that it be installed to a specification and we didn't. I don't know what happened with the garage roof previously, but I would say we probably lost our window in which to pursue that a long time ago, but we
Yeah.
could have.
Okay, I just,
But
but otherwise I thought it looked great.
Thanks. Yeah, I thought I was pleased to find a good example to utilize that kind of covered. And this also, the bid that we got already, it was handwritten, basically that kind of lines up with this, so it's not,
Oh,
that
cool.
person could would kind of meet our requirements in somewhat different language, so it's not rocket science as far as what we're asking for, it's pretty, should be pretty clear. I would love to put this out, but I don't know if there's rush to do it today. So if you guys want more time to review it, we could do it at the next meeting. It's for, basically we want it for budgeting for next year.
Right.
I don't have a problem putting this out.
Can you just forward it to me?
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna go through in here, but
For some reason.
It was sent this morning, Tuesday at 12:40 PM.
Yeah, for some reason it's,
and do you see the email or do you not see the email at all?
I don't see the email at all.
I might, maybe I sent it to the wrong Patrick.
Oh, you sent it to a Patrick Klitz, Kitz, Kitz.
Oh, Patrick gets, that happens sometimes. Sorry about that, Patrick.
And that's
Um,
why you can't find it, Patrick.
So
Dang
I
auto.
would like to move that we put this out for bid with what I've drafted here, adding as indicated in email, I'll add dates appropriate to the timeframe. Since you haven't had a chance to review it, if you get back to me tomorrow and see some issue with it, I'll put a hold on it. But that would be
Don't hold it up for my account.
So you gotta clean up the calendar dates on here.
the calendar dates.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
I'll work
ask,
with-
what did you
work
want
with-
for bid conference and question period?
I didn't know what the day would end up being, so I'll just sort of do it about I just look to do it a few weeks out, basically, and stagger those dates. I'm not. The motion would be for me to go ahead and do that. And work with Rose on posting. it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're gonna. I'm
I'll
trying to
second
remember-
that motion.
Okay, so. Further discussion, so. We have a bit, the budget process coming up, right? And let's look at the, because we're trying to get this in on, before we get through the budget, right? So,
Basically, we'd be looking at, it'd be early to mid-November that we would open the bids. So
and
that's in time for late, the second.
second round of meetings for the, okay,
Yeah, which is still pretty early on.
right, that's my only cautious to make sure we have it for the budgetary process.
So let me ask you this, just because I'm not too familiar with this budget, is that for the budget for the highway department, or is that on the select board's budget?
Good question.
That's the highway department, right?
Probably it'd be highway
I
department.
think it's gonna be highway.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a big capital expense. That's
Right, yeah. Okay,
one way or another. And we also talked about using ARPA funds for it.
so, right, so does that mean that we should say like the question period would end on the 28th and the bids would be due by November 4th?
Alright, okay.
Does that
Some-
work for timing?
Something like that. Just given how many blanks. I could just take this, I was just gonna suggest I take it offline, and if you guys want to put all those dates in here in order to vote on it, we can do that. I was just gonna take care of that after the meeting. Because there's 10 different places where you have to plug in dates, and I didn't want to do it in the middle of the meeting.
Yeah, no, I think I don't have a problem move this process forward. And just having it edited, to line up with the budget process, that's all I care about.
Yeah. So Tristan, what was your fuzzy thinking to have it, have the quotes due by the middle of November? Because we meet with our second select board portion on the 30th, but the highway portion is the 4th or 5th or something.
Yeah, I think it would end up being mid-November, Paul, so. I mean, the way I was thinking about it is, this is just a kind of a big individual item that we can include in the budget process as we go wherever it lands. It's in November is, both meetings in November are still early in the process, so.
Yeah, I guess when we go through the highway budget, right, we're gonna have to put a line item in for this roof, or, however we do it. And we can either leave it blank or put an estimate in there
Why-
and just annotate it as an estimate.
Why don't we open it, why don't we have bids opened on the November 15th select board meeting? So it'd be in time for the second of these budget meetings.
Right, so I guess the point is that the second round is the select board, not the highway, right? So we'd have to go back to the highway,
But these are just arbitrary,
I
Buckets,
understand.
so
Okay,
to me,
I don't.
you know,
Well, this isn't like we're getting a bid on sand that we want to put into the highway budget. This is, like Tristan said, a capital item.
So the motion would be that, yeah, I would say we have a select board meeting on the 15th, so I would say the motion is for bids to be opened on the 15th, and I'll backdate all the other requirements according to that.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
I think Paul already did.
Okay.
I did.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So passed. Mike had to go, so I'm not sure we want to deal with the road supervisor commission and road commissioner job descriptions.
Well, I think we should. No?
And we can, I was hoping to have Mike here for that, but
I was also hoping to have Edie here for that. She said she couldn't make this meeting.
Yeah, she says that this is the select board meetings coincide with another meeting that she's on. I think it might be, I don't remember what she said, and that she wouldn't be able to make them.
For the meeting in 2 weeks from now as well.
That's the way she said that the select board meetings coincided with other meeting that she was in.
Couldn't, but the third she could.
yeah, so we think the first one she can't make, but the third.
Oh,
she can
okay.
make. That's Rosa's input, so.
okay.
So why don't we just put it back on the agenda for the next meeting and revisit it? That all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you do that, Rosa?
Yep.
Right, okay. Windham Regional Commission proposed intermunicipal services bylaw amendments.
So this was shared with us by Edie, who's our Windham Regional Commissioner at the last meeting. And I would just like to move that we submit a public comment in support of this bylaw change. And that we ask Edie to draft that and submit that.
I
I
think,
think this is a good thing for the town, and
Oh,
we
it's a great
should
thing.
just show up and support their change.
Second that.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So how do we,
I can email Edie and ask her
okay,
about it. She's going to submit the comment, write a comment for us, otherwise I can do it.
okay, all right, so I'll let you take care. of
And
that.
before it gets published, do we get to see what's getting written, seeing as though it's got our select board name across it?
Paul, you tell me, I think the public comment is gonna be, we support this, basically, with language that I'm asking Edie to draft. If you want to review it before it gets submitted, you tell me. I'm not included, that wasn't included in the motion.
I think the board should be reviewing anything that gets published, especially if it's going to be written by somebody who's not on the board. Even if it's written by somebody who is on the board, do you know what I mean? I don't know,
Well,
maybe I'm reading too much
a lot of
into it, whatever
things-
you guys decide.
Send a lot of things out, Paul, that we ask someone to send a letter to so-and-so on so-and-such business, and that's up to that select board member to write the actual letter. We do a lot of business that way, so
Okay.
I don't. That's the theory I was operating on here.
So do we need to do any more with that, or are we good where it sits?
Putting forward, share around the comment. And if there's a chance to, if anyone has comment on the comment before it goes out, we'll see, hopefully there's a good chance for that.
Yeah, we just have to watch out we don't violate open meeting.
Right, more like if someone, we can share the comment before it gets submitted. If a board member says, I have an issue with this, then we could take it back to a meeting. If
Right,
no
so-
one says, I have an issue with it, then
Then it goes back on the agenda and we'll discuss it again. Right,
if someone has an issue, yeah.
Okay.
No one has an issue, then they can just.
okay. I think that works. That's good with you guys?
Yeah.
ARPA funds, I don't have anything new there. Post office, I've made a whole number of additional phone calls. When I do talk to people at the post office, the message is they're in negotiation with the landlord. When I talk to the landlord, he says, no, they're not. So I don't know what to do with it. I don't, I'm kind of stuck. I'm gonna continue to make phone calls. I mean, I know that landlord has submitted his, to them. He has to send them a form that says, I'm not gonna renew the contract, right, the lease, under the current terms. And so that motivates the post office to go negotiate with him. So that's what I think is gonna happen, but as far as I know, it hasn't happened yet. I did try to call landlord, I couldn't get him, so it may be happening, and I'm not aware of it, but it's really difficult. I'll just continue to pound on it, and I'll let you know how we do at the next meeting. I don't know what else to say.
Did that that guy in Boston? Yeah, ever hear from him
I've
again?
called him a couple of times. I get his voicemail, I don't get anything back.
Can you share that contact information
Absolutely.
with the board?
I'll share with all the board. I'll share all my post office contacts with the board.
Thank you.
The way you say that makes it sound a lot.
Well, I mean,
That's the
okay,
one.
I'm not gonna cry about it anymore.
Sorry, can you just back me up and ask a question about the ARPA fund? So, where are we in that process, and is there a deadline? And
The only deadlines we have is that the money has to be allocated or committed by the end of 2024. And it actually has to be spent by the end of 2026. That's the only dates that I know of that we're committed to.
okay. And do we have, I mean, I know, because Tristan said earlier that we've got a lot of things that we're planning to spend money on, so sounds like we have a pretty well-developed pipeline.
I think at this point, there's a ton of ideas. The roof on the town garage has started to, I think, rise to the surface, rise to the top for some, but well, there hasn't been a vote on it, but it's getting attention, I'd say, as a need that would potentially consume most of the rest of
Oh, really?
the funds if we
Hmm.
decided to use it for that. And that's part of the rationale. We should really put this up for bid to get competitive bids to see if it makes sense. Just the town garage roof has been leaking for 15 years. It's gonna keep leaking until we do something about it. It's not good. So are we gonna, at some point, just include that in a regular budgeting process? Are we gonna utilize this money to offset the cost? Are we gonna look at the other long list of things to do with ARPA? That's, to me, the group is right now that, the one bid we've received was for like 130,000, I think. So that's takes most, if we went down that road, so.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I think that's a discussion.
But there's no deadline, we have, the deadlines are years in the future. This is just a process that's unfolding.
Yeah.
As far as we're doing the best for the town to utilize the funds in a way that really, I think, really makes the best use of them for taxpayers.
Well, you know, the $200,000 is what it is, right? And everything's getting more expensive. It's not really doing the town any good sitting in the bank, right? So, I think it's really on us to do something productive with it, one way or the other.
I think at this point, we
So-
have our budgeting process for next
Right,
year.
so-
coming up. Pay, we know there's
Yeah.
a lot of needs. We know our current budget is being blown out in some areas, so it's gonna
Right.
get tapped.
Right, so.
Yeah, I guess the other question I have is, do the people that have been involved in coming up with those ideas know like what's going on, or is it during the budget discussions that we're gonna kind of
It's been on every
let people know?
select board meeting agenda, so
Yeah,
people
Well,
that,
We had a couple of meetings that were public meetings specifically for looking for ideas for the ARPA funds. We came up with, I don't know, a couple dozen
Yeah.
ideas, which we then sorted through to like 8 that we thought had wings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what we've been working with that list, right? I'll say, you probably don't have that stuff. It's in the history. I can send it to you if you want.
yeah. No, I mean, I think, I know about those 8 that kind of rose to the top. I guess I was just wondering, if there's some process to kind of follow up with those people, or maybe not. Maybe it doesn't need to be.
We don't.
It was just a question.
no, I think we should. I think
Opinion.
there's been a kind of enough, the request was put out to the whole town for ideas. But the town should be informed of the direction. I think this meeting, this agenda item we do every meeting is how we do that and are doing that. The town meeting in March where we put forward the budget would
Yeah,
be the most broad way of sharing that update and
Can I ask just a quick question? Is there gonna be a second installment of ARPA funds?
So it comes in 2 tranches, right, or whatever that word is, right? We got the first one last year, and supposedly the second one is either here or should be here. So.
Equal amounts?
Equal amounts, and it totals out about 200,000 between the
Okay,
two of them.
total is 200,000.
So can I ask my last question, and then this will tell me whether or not I'm gonna bother you guys anymore. I mean, if I'm not in the running, I'm not gonna even bother going out and trying to find any more estimates.
I don't,
I mean, if you've got the money that's going towards the roof, I'm not gonna waste my time or your time.
that's not my sense of it. I think that's not my sense of it. I think I could see potential for, yes, if we put it on the roof,
Gets done.
that takes out most of the left of what's left. But I would advocate for looking at kind of that whole list of other concerns and seeing, can we allocate any other money in a way that makes a difference? And it may not be, everything you've asked for, but it would include this in it.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, the select board has to make the decision.
Absolutely,
So,
right.
We went through a process to identify ideas that people had. The roof came in subsequent to that,
Right,
right?
yep.
So I think at the very least, we should probably if we want to put that as part of the consideration, we should at least give the other ideas fair shake, right, along with that, right?
Yeah,
Personally, a big capital expenditure like that, that's really a maintenance item, is almost something you should just amortize with a mortgage, right? And not punch that big a hole in the ARPA funds or in the budget, right? But that's a discussion we need to have, right? And, in terms of, trying to do what's best for the town, right?
I get it. I mean, but I'm just saying to myself, I'm at the point now where I keep coming back and coming back and coming back and I wish I had known about the lead abatement thing before I came back the second time. I mean, that wasn't even an issue the last time I came up.
Well, we like to see you, Andrea.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you don't. I had to listen to me moaning groan.
Okay, so, other business. Hearing of visitors,
One comment,
sure.
a while ago, probably 3 or 4 meetings ago, select board meetings. I asked if there was any possible way to get or come up with a waiver for people who may want to work at the cemetery. And I never heard anything back about that.
So we have this is what comes from VLCT.
And I think that, didn't the town attorney also give us?
Yeah, and there was some comment from the town attorney. There's also some comment from, from VLCT in terms of trying to tailor this agreement to specifically to the town,
The town or to,
right?
yeah, to our work, well, it probably benefits the town.
Right. Well, it tends to be pretty conservative, you certainly don't want anybody to get hurt. I also don't want to handcuff the people that are trying to help,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
it's sort of a tightrope to walk, right? To try to make that happen.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Although it's probably not an ironclad type of agreement. I'm sure you can get some lawyer up there that will argue, the validity of it.
Well, it's from in talking with the passive, right, the insurance people, the key part of it is that they are volunteers.
Yeah.
Right. That's key, to having it, because as soon as they're paid, right, there's a whole bunch of
Then,
other
yeah.
regulations that kick in, right?
Yeah.
So but at the same time, you want people to work safely and be supervised and have some idea of what they're doing and, and are capable and, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, that's really what we're up against, and that's, I think, what we're trying to document, right,
Okay.
with this,
All right.
But the key part is that they're volunteers, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of the foundational idea of the whole thing.
Right, and not covered by any insurance from the town or anything like that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But
Which
there was another part of that, I think, which was about using heavy equipment. Right? And didn't the town attorney advise that we don't have volunteers using heavy
I
equipment?
actually think that was that, I'm not sure if it was the town attorney or if that was VLCT attorney.
That was VLCT, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, so, so people, have a lot of capability in terms of equipment, right? That they want to use it to help, right? But there's significant risk with that. And that's, I think from the attorney's perspectives, don't do that, right? Because, if you do that, then, then that, it's just unacceptable risk, right? That,
Then
So-
that opens up to define how far do you go before equipment turns heavy equipment.
Yeah.
We had some substantial equipment working in one of our cemeteries. Again, volunteers. And
well, it's such a big benefit, right, to
Oh, yeah.
right, but at the same time, it's also a risk, right? So,
Right,
So
right.
I think that needs some discussion on how to handle that. And
Yeah.
if there's some way you can do both, right? And maybe you can't, but.
but this originally came up, I think, because of the trees that somebody, a neighboring landowner was willing to take down.
Yeah.
But we didn't know if, if the town could give them permission to come and,
Yeah.
and take those trees down.
Would this,
I talked to Patty,
Okay.
and I think that was what started this whole conversation. And to me, it seems like that's too much risk for the town to take on. If something happens while those volunteers are taking down those trees, then the town could be liable. Could certainly be a party to a lawsuit. And so I think Patty said she didn't think that we should do that. And I think that the equipment that would be required would probably count as heavy equipment that we wouldn't want to use in a volunteer project. That's my reading of the situation.
okay. So that that eliminates that doesn't eliminate it. It improves the insured contractors who we hire to do work.
That's
Not,
right.
we don't need a waiver for them, but
No,
but for the, you know, a few hours.
Yeah.
People are coming out and using chainsaws or weed whackers or something like that. We
Yeah.
can, this would be in effect, this would be okay to use, or has this not been approved yet?
I mean, this is what came down from the LCT. That's kind of why I brought it
Okay,
with me tonight, right? You know,
Is that for anybody who volunteers on the cemeteries?
it's anybody that
it's not
volunteers to work.
volunteers to work for any town property.
So I would, yeah, me though, because you're commissioners, I'm not.
Well,
No.
not even, but
we're
we're,
in
but I mean,
here.
the cemetery restoration,
Right.
you know,
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know if that is or not.
'cause I bring my tractor out there. Is that considered heavy equipment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, this is the thing, right? It handcuffs you, right? It's
Light,
so-
light,
Well,
heavy-
it's just
light
like-
heavy commitment.
I mean, everybody's
Like,
great until
Your
someone
tractor? Nah.
Yeah. Oh, Gary's tractor. No, that's not heavy equipment.
I think excavator would probably be like, you know, but
Is it a big excavator?
tractor- a baby.
Yeah, they got mini
excavator.
excavators.
It's true.
You know, so
Yeah, I don't know.
I think,
does.
so can I ask you to do this? So you take a look at that agreement, see what it does in terms of how it handcuffs the cemetery commissioners, right, in terms of their volunteer work. And if there's something we need to do to that agreement, right, you know, to you know, give it a little more flexibility, or maybe it needs to be tighter, you know. But review that and let us know what you think, and then I'll probably mark it up and then run it by the attorney again and see where it goes from
Okay.
there.
Can I have that copy?
Yeah,
or is
oh,
that-
yeah. Yep,
Okay,
yeah, you want a couple more?
yeah.
So matter of fact, here's what, I'll give you all this. stuff.
Distribute it to the commissioners.
Right, so here's some agreement.
And
And
here's
here's,
the Patrick.
okay, and here's just the wire on what they say
Okay,
about managing the risk.
All right.
Okay.
give that to Patrick. Thank you.
Yep. Okay,
Are we considered elderly?
Elderly?
no,
I say so.
Elderly? Is it elderly?
Yeah, whatever.
okay, so are you good with that, Gary? Is that-
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this.
hearing of visitors, I guess, anything else for hearing of visitors?
You don't have the, do we have a order to sign, treasurer's order to sign? We don't have that on the agenda.
Oh, it didn't get on this agenda. Yeah, we do have a treasurer's order, so,
I move that we add the treasurer's order to the agenda.
Second,
uh,
if we can.
any further discussion? So add the treasurer's order to the agenda. Not hearing any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we,
So Rose is gonna have the, right here, and we'll
can we
take,
read, can we just read through it like we've been doing?
doozy.
For me to,
You wanna do it?
No, that's
okay, we have 15,863 to Maple Leaf Carpentry for this. Windows.
Restoration done.
We have 108.66 to Dream on Power for streetlights, 132.18 to IDS, our source for dog tags. For recycling, our amount due is 1853.22. Our service contract on office machines, $10. Property maintenance on the landfill, $450. October patrol hours for Windham County Sheriff's, 8:33:33. September ER services with Rescue Inc., 92. Windham Solid Waste, 120919. Consolidated Communications, 2 items, emergency support and the regular telephone, 4865 and 10670 respectively. We have 4 payments to Deerfield Valley News for ads. For $90.70, $51, $25.50, and $14.20. We have Bank of America office supplies, $120. Ad in the Commons. That would probably be for the
Highway bill.
highway, 4125. Bill Moore, town, assistant town clerk, 820. Mary Brewster, assistant town clerk, 280. Patty Dow, salary for October 2083 as town clerk. Patty Dow, salary as treasurer for October, $12.50. Bill Moore, zoning administrator, permit fees, $155. Rosa Podlaski, October payroll, $10.83 as assistant, and $250 for secretary. We have lister wages for Mayor Brewster and Tina Blaze, $600 for Mary, $580 for Tina. For September, Paul Blaze, quarterly stipend for EMD is $875. The total of all orders, $29,025.58.
Okay, so we'll sign that. We're also gonna sign that insurance form, which is here somewhere.
Is it the Blue Cross Blue Shield?
I don't think so.
I didn't see anything from passive. I don't
Is
know.
it that one that you had asked me about a form and I said, oh, just file it, but it was a
Today?
insurance form. You had to show me an insurance.
Oh,
form.
that's just a certificate of insurance. We get a bunch of those.
So I don't know what
Get it signed.
it is. I don't know.
I think, I mean, I've got, well, the state board is on this, is on the agenda here, sorry about that. And then overweight permits, I don't think I saw any, did we see any?
No,
No.
And,
I have it looks like you need to sign a grant agreement.
okay,
Unless the Mike signed it.
Thanks. Oh, this might be it, passive VLCT.
no, that sounds like it.
This looks like part 2 of another grant agreement.
So I guess, I think we can adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn. And I second it.
I'll second. that. All right, all those in favor?
All right.
I
Aye. Thanks a lot, folks. See you next time.
have a great evening, guys.
Thanks, Paul. Have a good evening.
See ya.
See you, Paul.
I'm done.